Osmo.com NHL Strategy Show. I am Jake Hari, joined as I am on a lot of days by Nolan Kelly. Nolan, how you
What's up?
doing, man?
I feel like it's been a while here. We had some like small slates.
Yeah, dude. For real. And then the Saturday slate too. Um, I think you've got me. Yeah, okay. You got me muted over there. There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, the Saturday slate. Let's see. That was the big one. But yesterday was kind of a weird one. Did you end up playing yesterday?
Yeah, I actually had a finished top five in the 20 max. So first top
Nice,
five of the
dude.
year. I'll take it. A little slow start, but we're getting going.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Which is
Oh,
all about the Colorado too.
Colorado too. Yeah, I really like them. Once again though, like the stack didn't go nuts.
Just
So
happened to have Pasternak with Boston one, and that was it. But man, it's just like so hard these days. I don't know why the stacks don't go. Is the NHL just not giving out second assists or something anymore? What's going on?
I mean, Bergeron got another assist taken away
Did
on I
he?
think Pasternak's fourth goal. I want to say
Yeah.
they gave him an assist and then they took it away right away. So um, I don't know. I mean, I think we're running a little bit bad if you're stacking, but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
it's interesting to see some of the pros that are kind of changing up their strategy just a little bit.
Are they? Are they?
Uh,
Okay.
Petty in chat, what's up, Petty? Made it for a minute to say hello. YouTube chat is all over the place today, so we'll see how this goes. I had Colorado 2, Boston 1. Yeah, I mean that looked
How'd you
like
do?
a pretty good spot. If you'd probably be in a pretty good spot if you had those two, right?
If you didn't have Tom Chabot just like taking the night off, I
Yeah,
don't know what the hell that was about. But man, I was so high on Chabot and Dumba, and they just did nothing. So
yeah. He decided he didn't want to play. Really, Ottawa wasn't playing too much in that game, and cool. We just got NHL ownership.
nice,
Perfect.
perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Site's
Yeah.
back up. Site was down. It's back up now. So if you're holding off now, we got ownership.
Yeah.
Let's,
And I'm gonna get projections updated once the show is over. Hard for me to do it while we're on the show, but those will get squared away right after. There we go. Someone put the YouTube link in chat. I'm going to also do that and add the channel so everybody that wants to watch us that forgets what time we're on can do so. All right, let's take a look.
loving these ownership projections, man. They really just dally in a little bit more than you know.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I think they've been pretty close, and for the first couple times, I think they're only going to get better. We keep saying so. Be patient. There's going to be some guys that we're a little bit off on to start, but hopefully it gets to be as good as NFL and MLB and all the other sports that Alex and Tom and Eddie work so hard on to be the best in the industry as far as ownership projections. At least we think so. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is the sponsor of the NHL Strategy Show. Tonight they're running out the $12, $300 to first. We have a very flat payout structure here. This is the tournament you've been kind of playing a little bit, right? Nolan, the $12.
20 max. Oh no, no, I haven't played that one too much. Is that the single entry?
It's 4 max tonight over on Yahoo.
Oh, that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
love it.
said that the competition's really soft, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's definitely softer than DK, and you've only got a few lineup entries. I think it's like a 7 max or 8 max. So I don't know. It's I had one really bad night where the I don't know, something like didn't click or like just the wrong line. But other than that, I think it's been profitable pretty much every single night. So if you want to just go over there, click on a single lineup, take all the value plays and stack, I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Just correlate your goalie with your forwards because those count a lot. And just remember they got plus minus over there. So try to take some teams that are favored in some big
Yep.
spots.
Yep, for sure. Can we hear ownership for Fleury? We could probably get to that a little bit later.
For Marc-Andre Fleury,
Marc Andre, yeah. What do you got? Do you see it?
doesn't look like he's listed actually.
Is he
Is he
not?
confirmed?
He is confirmed. Or no, he's not confirmed. Sorry, he's likely. Gerard Gallant said it was going to be the same lineup, so I'm assuming same goalie. They refuse to start Malcolm Subban. So, Or I
There you
guess
go.
I don't even know. Is Subban even healthy? I can't even remember. He just is not
Oh,
playing.
he is.
9% Raj says on DK. There you go for Marc-Andre Fleury. All right, let's look at FC Pro's NHL lineup study from yesterday. We had. I always like to look at the big tournament, the $8 or the $10, whatever they're offering on that night. So it was a little bit of a weird slate yesterday with the early lock, and actually someone in our Slack actually did really well, took down the tournament. I don't know how to pronounce
Awesome.
his name. I'm assuming it's a he, but took down first with Boston and Colorado 2. Boston 1,
Sweet.
Colorado 2. Dumba, Vatanen.
In the $10 there.
It was $8 yesterday. Yeah, same
$8,
tournament.
Cool.
And it was a full stack. So full stacking is not dead. You needed Boston 1 and
Just needed the right D.
right, exactly. So I had a bunch of Boston 1. I had a bunch of Colorado 2, but I was running some 3-2-1s, and I also all of my Pasternak shares were with both Bergeron and Marchand, so they were all tied to those guys. Didn't get the 3-2-1 right. Needed to probably spread that around a little bit. All those guys are, they're pretty close to getting. Those guys can all get hat tricks. So I think I should have had more of those guys as one-offs and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Probably a learning experience for me. I don't know if I'm going back to 3-3 tonight or what, but I might. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
What are some of the things you're noticing so far? Is it what are some of the big changes that some of the pros are making?
I mean, I don't think that anyone's making huge changes. I think just we're seeing more one-offs. I think one-offs are a little bit more predictable because because of the shot volume, right? So 2 assists is the same amount as 5 shots on DraftKings, if I'm correct there, but or it's really close. I don't know the actual math. I know it's really close. So it's easier to predict Ovechkin getting 5 shots or 8 shots as a one-off compared to finding the guy that's going to give you multiple points that may not be as good of a play as far as shot volume. So that's all. 3-2-1 I think is a little bit more viable. I'm probably going to play a little bit more 3-2-1 going forward, and we'll see how that shakes out, especially on these mid-sized slates like the 3 to 7 game slates. That's probably what I'm gonna do.
And you're going to get the added advantage of just avoiding those dupes. Like, yeah, I think I was competing with about 6 other players that had Colorado 1 and Boston 1 in that lineup. If you have a 3-2-1, I can't imagine that you're going to have very many duplications on most nights. Like,
yeah,
it's really high ownership.
That's actually interesting. I want to see how many dupes I actually had. So let's see. I ran 150 last night, or I guess yesterday afternoon. I had 5 total lineups that were duped. I did run a bunch of 3-3 as well as 3-2-1, but I think I did majority 3-2-1 and then just filled in the 3-3s after I felt comfortable with my exposures on 3-2-1. So only 5 lineups out of 150. I think that's pretty decent for being duped. Yeah. It was, again, a 7-game slate. So I don't know, man. I think it's a pretty viable strategy. And Absolutely. For the most part, I did like how my lineups looked. So tweaking my strategy, I wouldn't say I'm changing anything. I'm still going to do a lot of 3-3, especially on larger slates. But I think when it gets into the gray area of like I said, the 5, 6, 7, 8 game slates, I think I'm going to look towards more 3-2-1, and we'll see what happens. What about you? You see anything that is alarming? Any pros that you've studied that you want to take a look at? And I got
to rely on you. I actually haven't had much of a chance to look at it yet. So, but I've noticed like Alex switching to that last year. So I imagine just from what we're seeing so far, it looks more and more likely that that's going to be a viable strategy with these bonuses and the shots. So I like the old scoring. I'm kind of not a super huge fan of this, but what are you going to do?
How did you fit Colorado 1 and Boston 1? I don't think you could fit those two. Colorado 2 and Boston 1 was ended up being the top lineup. So, it would have been really difficult to fit Colorado 1 and Boston 1. I don't think you'll be able to do that on any slate. when you do 3-3, do you have 2 one-off defensemen? Yeah, essentially.
Or you can add a fourth defenseman if you want to, like Devil stacks with PK Subban yesterday.
Sure.
Stuff like that. I mean, it's certainly viable, but you're definitely increasing your odds of duplication as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you could do the testosterone strategy where sometimes on a San Jose night he'll have both Carlson and Burns in the same lineup. So I don't know how I feel about that strategy, to be honest. I think I probably want to limit one defenseman per team in general, but on a shorter slate, maybe you do at least consider 2 defensemen from the same team as one-offs. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. A lot of learning going on. I think lineup study is a great tool for that. We're 20 minutes in. Well, technically, I think we're only like 12 minutes in, but we got a late start because of some technical issues. So that's all we're going to have for today on lineup study. Again, if you want to have access to this with your Osmo Plus membership, got to buy Fantasy Cruncher with your Osmo Plus subscription, and then the additional add-on is FC Pro. So I think it is a pretty awesome option if you're looking to mass multi-enter or just make multiple lineups or just see different builds. Even if you're a single entry player, I think Fantasy Cruncher can be very, very useful. All right, let's go to the games here. Let's take care of this quick. All right. Let's start with Minnesota and Toronto. We've got Devin Dubnyk and Frederik Andersen. $6,900 for Dubnyk, $8,400 for Freddie Andersen. Let me look up the implied totals. We don't have them on here just yet.
Toronto has implied total of 4. Minnesota's a slate low. So that's a slate high versus a slate low tonight. Minnesota implied total of 2.6. Toronto's minus 235 favorites. So big favorites, big total, big everything for Toronto here. And I think Alex Stalock is not going, I guess, for the Wild because apparently Bruce Boudreau thinks that goalies should there's some like mental reason why he thinks goalies shouldn't ride a heater into a second game in a row.
Well, right. So he played during the day yesterday. So I guess it's like almost a day and a half of rest. Would you think they would
in the season? Like, who cares? I'm sure you could go back to back if you really wanted to. But
you think so? Yeah, you rarely see that, right?
Really?
Yeah, you rarely see it. I mean,
I don't know. Like, I feel like certain goalies just do it. Like Marc-Andre Fleury will go back to back, or Carey Price or Vasilevsky. Like, I don't know. I maybe not rarely, but I feel like 30, maybe 20% of the time they'll just start a starter.
Oh, I feel like it rarely happens. I don't know. Maybe you're right on that. But anyways, we're going to get Dubnyk tonight. Minnesota been pretty disappointing. Their lone win coming yesterday against Ottawa in shutout fashion. Defensively, they haven't been terrible. But what do you like here? I mean, I think we've got a couple lines on Toronto that might pick up some ownership. What are you seeing on them?
Yeah, it's looking like mostly the same from Toronto's side, just that Rasmus Sandin was sent back down to the AHL and Martin Marincin is back up on the third pairing with Justin Hall. One thing I did notice as well, Tyson Barrie is getting the most correlation with the Austin Matthews line, and Morgan Riley is getting most of his correlation with the Tavares line. So if you're thinking about stacking those defensemen up, you might want to consider it. It's only a difference of a few minutes, but that can make all the difference in the world, right? I think I haven't had a chance to publish my line changes article, but Morgan Riley has where is that totally awesome. Barrie 11 minutes with Toronto 1, okay. Morgan Riley 10 minutes with Toronto 2, and those are about half the other lines. So Babcock running out some 5-man units. On the Minnesota side of things, Kevin Fiala is out. Ryan Donato has been moved up to that line, and he is skating with Eric Stahl and Ryan Hartman. He's also on the power play 1, so you actually have 2 players from the line on Minnesota that are going to be on the power play. And of course, I think we're probably both on the same page here. We're going to try and stuff in as much super cheap Matt Dumba as humanly possible.
Yeah, so Dumba is the guy that he really sticks out as a guy that I think you need to be playing tonight if you're multi-entering. $4,500, top power play. He's been pretty aggressive so far. He's got a good shot. He is a pretty good offensive defenseman, and it's just way too cheap of a price. So defensemen, we like taking them against Toronto. They are pretty lenient in terms of the shots they give up. 2 defensemen over the last few years. Someone asked, anybody got a good value defenseman for tonight? Dumba is exactly that. So good timing there.
I don't need to dip too low tonight. Like,
No.
I'm always looking out for some cheap defensemen, but like, I
Mm-hmm.
think you're better off paying up for this Josh Morrissey Dumba range. Like, it's just they're 6K defensemen being priced as mid 4K defensemen, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. So I like Dumba. I think the best of anyone tonight. I think he got the 5-shot bonus yesterday. I think there's a pretty good chance he does that here. If the Wild can somehow sustain some play, that's going to be the question. If the Leafs just run him over, that wouldn't be all that surprising either. I like the Tavares line quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
What are we
$6,900.
looking at for ownership here?
What's that?
What are we looking at for ownership? Looks about equal between these two lines.
Is it equal? It's usually around the same. You kind of got the 1-2 punch with Tavares and Marner that brings up ownership, and then Matthews is usually the most chalky guy on Toronto when Toronto's popular. So for me, I usually lean towards the Tavares line. I know that's probably not very popular so far. Seth was joking about is Tavares bad or is he just running bad? And I think he's running pretty bad right now. So I prefer the second line. Let's see. Top line for Toronto. I'm mostly just looking at Matthews. When I'm running 3-2-1s, I want to get some Matthews in there. I think that makes for a pretty solid one-off pretty much anytime. And yeah, he's going to be chalky tonight, but not. It's not going to like it's a 4-game slate and he's going to be 45%. Like you're going to be okay one-offing him and just looking for goals. So that's what I'm kind of looking at here. I mean, Minnesota won. They've been pretty decent the last couple games, but nothing to where I'm like, wow, you got to jam in some Minnesota one, especially on the back-to-back. I don't mind Stahl with Donato as a 1-2 punch, just pretty cheap. But yeah, they scratched Fiala. I don't understand that at all. Just old school Boudreaux, I suppose, just trying to make a statement early in the season. But it would be nice if it was Stahl, Donato, Fiala, I think I'd be really pumped about playing that line. But with Hartman there, takes it away just a little bit for me. So it's going to be probably a bunch of Parise one-offs and maybe a couple shares of full stacks for these top two lines for Minnesota.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Don't really have much interest in these bottom lines, surprisingly. I know Seth will probably have something to say about that, but not super excited about Toronto 3 or Toronto 4, and Minnesota is like depth lines. They're all cheap, but there's just so little correlation, and they tend to roll 4 lines, and they're on the second of back-to-back. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with rolling out some Eriksson, Ek, Kunin, and Foligno, maybe like one of those lineups, but that's about as low as I go. They actually led the team in 5-on-5 ice time last time out. So,
Kunin and Fiala did?
Yeah, I think they had a 25. Yeah, they had. It's not much, but Minnesota 3 had 26% clip, 5-on-5 together. So
I mean, that's definitely surprising. So worth noting for sure if they're going to run their lines out pretty equally. Wouldn't be a team that I would suspect would
not a lot of power play time and only about 15 minutes, so it's nothing to get excited about.
All right.
Low on option.
Yeah, let's move it on to the next game. Let's go to Tampa and Montreal. Vasilevsky and Price in net here. Implied totals, we are looking at about 3.4 to Tampa, 3.1 for Montreal, expected to be a pretty high event game. And we are probably going to have to talk about Tampa 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
They're expensive. You can somewhat make it work. I'm not really trying to make it work all that much tonight. Tatar, and Gallagher probably going to go up against that line for the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matchup you have to shy away from, but I wanted to wait and see on ownership for Tampa 1. Do you have that pulled up right away? I'm getting it pulled up.
Actually, I do, yeah, and it was a lot lower than I thought. So we have Braden Point is only at 6% ownership, which means that line's going to max out at that, I'm guessing. Stamkos, I'm sure, is going to be a little bit higher, and Stamkos and Kucherov will be higher, but Stamkos 5%, Kucherov 8%. So I was right there with you, trying to fade them at that price point, but at that ownership, I don't know, man. Give me a few shares, that's for sure. Especially because we have a couple of lines that we'll get to later that are easy to pair with. The only problem is they're going to be a little bit chalky, so you're still going to need to differentiate. But man, 5% on Braden Point, Sign me up.
Yeah, just from an ownership standpoint, I wanted to see them a little bit higher just so I felt better about not having a lot of them.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be that low and people can't force them in, then I might have to try to force them in, kind of zig while everyone else zags, because there's a lot of obvious value tonight. Tampa 1 is not really one of those. We don't have a super underpriced second or third line that everyone's excited to play. But I'm going to try to make it work, at least with 2 out of the 3 guys. Like if you can go point Kucherov or point Stamkos or Stamkos Kucherov or something like that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your 2-man
Absolutely.
stacks.
That's a good point. If you want to do like a 3-2-1, then you can fit them in with
For
one of
sure.
the cheaper stacks, and you're still good to go. But yeah, with Arizona 1 and like if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna roster that full line, you got to figure Arizona 1 is going to be the number 1 stack that's paired with, and then probably people can kind of fit in Vancouver 1 as well. So those will be your 2 chalkiest options.
I like it. I also like Montreal 1 on the other side. Just I think they're going to play a lot of ice time tonight against Point, Stamkos, Kucherov. Those guys are going to play a lot, and it may be a hard match situation. Don't have a perfect read on this, but I don't think Montreal wants the Domi, Lehkonen wheel line going up against Stamkos and Kucherov and Point very often. I think it's going to be mostly Montreal 1. So I think those 2 battle it out. You get top power play time for Deneau and Gallagher. They're just cheap. They're going to play a lot of minutes. I think they actually are pretty good at 5-on-5 as well. So I like Montreal 1 as a pretty good value. I just worry if they're just going to be kind of an optimizer play that everyone's on because of the ice time they get and because they're at home with a pretty big total. So
Yeah.
looks like right now Gallagher, not shockingly, getting some ownership. Deneau in double digits too. I wouldn't expect that. He's usually a guy people leave off, but Tatar also in double digits. So actually one of the, I guess chalkier lines of the night, even though they're not overly chalky. Looks like it's pretty spread around based on our ownership projections. Anything else in this game?
It's kind of surprising to me that they're that chalky. It's not like Brendan Gallagher is cheap or anything, and it's not like they've got a really easy matchup. So that might be a spot actually where you come in a little bit underweight, because I was right there with you. I was sort of interested in them. Tampa Bay giving up the second most shots against per game and the 5th most scoring chances so far this season. Just one quick note on the Tampa side: if you didn't play that morning slate or you missed them, they have new lines: Tyler Johnson centering Yan Gordon and Andre Palat. Third line: Killorn, Chiarelli, and Joseph. So if you're interested in that second line as well, I feel like that's a little bit of a cheap, decent filler stack. I kind of like those 3 together as opposed to some of the other combos that they've had. And then as well on the defensive side, Mikhail Sergachev has been moved down to the 3rd pairing, and Chernak's up on the top pairing with Victor Hedman, Shattenkirk and McDonough together. So Chernak probably not going to get to him tonight, but he's one of these guys that always projects well in the model. So I downgrade Mikhail Sergachev as well on that one, and I didn't see any changes from Montreal. So.
Cool. I think Weber makes for a good option if you're stacking up Montreal 1. I think you're going to be able to afford him just for some extra correlation. Not going to force it in, but he was one of my higher owned guys when I was running crunches earlier today for defensemen. So it's kind of clear it's Dumba at the top, at least for not only raw points, but also I think he is just a really good value. Weber, not the same kind of play, but just I think he has more upside than maybe people realize.
I just saw Travis Sanheim's price.
What's he at?
$2,600.
26? Yeah, he's gonna pop up.
What the hell? I didn't even realize I know he was dipping down. So that like if you want to get down, like I'm 22 minutes a game, second pairing defenseman. Sorry, I know we're jumping ahead here, but kind of caught me off guard. You can pretty much pair him into a lot of your lineups if you're paying up at forward. So gives you that option to get some Tampa 1 in with some decent stacks.
No, I mean it's not a bad call at all. $2,600 for a guy playing 20 minutes. I'll almost always give a look at. I rarely pay attention too much to guys that aren't on the power play, especially on slates like this. But he might be a guy that I have to give a second look to, and we'll talk about him and the other guys when we get to that game. Absolutely. Arizona and Winnipeg, we have Darcy Kemper and Connor Hellebuck in net. 2.8 implied total for Arizona, about 3.2 for the Jets. Do we have confirmed lines on the Jets here? Because they sort of switched it up at the end of the last game.
Oh, did they? I'm pretty sure that they were tweeted from the beat writer this morning. I think I saw them, and they're Just some change to the bottom six there, I think. So David Gustafson centering the third line there. Mason Appleton and Gabriel Bork on the third line, and then Perreault, Lowry, and Roslovich on the fourth line there. So those are the only changes that I saw. I didn't know they switched it up last game, but I think that they're sticking with them today. And then, but maybe check line rushes as well. And then on the Coyotes side, they also switched things up a little bit last game. They broke up their first line. Who knows if those lines are going to stick? It's all guesswork with them. Like, I don't think their beat writers even travel with the team. I don't know if that happens. So, I don't even think that anyone there is from the team account. Like, I just think you're pretty much relying on the Jets beat writers to tweet out their lines. I would assume it's Keller, Stepan, and Kessel again, which is obviously the best value line on the slate. But that line was broken up a little bit and only had 14% ice time share last game. Keller skated with Schmaltz and Dvorak for a bit of time as well. So keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to be looking to see and get any information I can on this game because we did see Ehlers back up with Scheifele and Wheeler, and I actually prefer that trio rather than Line A.
Yep.
Is this, man, I didn't even notice Line A's price being right. Up there. Is this correct? Where's he at? 8K?
Yeah.
Wow. So I wasn't getting Winnipeg, and now I kind of know. I usually look at the lines as a whole, and I do like Winnipeg 1, but I think if it is Ehlers here, it's so much more appealing. They're better at 5-on-5 with Ehlers because he's better as a Corsi guy, Corsi 4% guy. Line A is not. He's not good defensively, so they get less chances offensively, even though he has a great shot and all that stuff. But I'm hoping we see Ehlers makes it more affordable. You're going to get some differentiation as people just plug in Line A. If they don't check line rushes, this game is after lock, so people are even less likely to late swap because of the late information. So I hope we see Winnipeg 1 with Ehlers, and then you mentioned Arizona 1, probably the best value on the night, assuming they stay together. All top power play. Winnipeg's a disaster defensively. Morrissey and Pullman is your top pairing. Like, it's pretty brutal. Dahlstrom, Neil Pionk, Potato, Kulikov. That is not striking fear into the hearts of anyone. And so Arizona you don't think of as a high event team, but I think tonight they should, like everyone else has, be able to generate a ton of opportunities against the Jets. So it's really Connor Hellebuyck just needing to stand on his head to keep goals out of the net.
How do you approach a slate like this where you know that like that line is way underpriced and it makes for a great filler stack that you can pair with pretty much any line tonight, if any line you want, and you're not really sacrificing all that much? Will you just have some chalky shares and have like your Toronto 2 and your Arizona 1, knowing that like 20 other people or 100 other people are going to have that combo in large GPPs?
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned it. Like, for the most part, I just let it go and let projections kind of take over. Even in an event-based sport, it is still heavily predicated on stacking. But like maybe you have 1 or 0 shares of Arizona 1 with the Toronto lines, and you just you use those on other lines that you can get a better edge on the field with. Because I like stacking. I like playing chalk. I talk about the chalky lines all the time. They're usually my favorite lines on the slate because ownership is more efficient these days in DFS. But like maybe you just limit the amount of other chalky lines you have with Arizona 1 because they don't need a ton to kind of be the nuts at this price, and they are also pretty good at 5-on-5, and you would expect no different here. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, I think just like you said, limit your Arizona 1 with other chalky lines and play them with lines that might be a little bit less chalky.
Sounds good. I like that approach. Just verified the lines there. Both 2B writers confirming that they did skate with those lines with line A up on Winnipeg 1. So I wouldn't expect any change. I
like Chikrin on D here at 3,400. Yeah, I do. He just shoots a bunch. $3,400. So he'll probably score a couple goals now that you're kind of dogging him a little bit. Who do you like here? Morrissey, Ekman Larson?
Yeah.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I like Morrissey, especially. Man, his minutes were just tops on the slate with Winnipeg won last game. Even though they lost, he had 16 minutes with Winnipeg won last game, which is a slate high. It's 4 more minutes than any other defenseman had with another top line. So, $4,300 on DraftKings, and I'm sure not much more in FanDuel. Sign me up for Morrissey. The breakout game's coming.
I like the call. 4,300, excellent price. Yeah, you said it. So Morrissey, Chikrin, Ekman Larson, those are kind of my favorite targets here for defensemen. Bunch of good value at D, even though I don't think you're going to have to punt, like you said earlier. You're not going to have to punt very often at D, I don't think. Unless you're playing 8K Patrick Laine.
8K Patrick Laine or Tampa 1. That's pretty much your only real reason to punt on this slate. But I guess you could, like, if maybe it might be a contrarian move to pair 2 high price lines together and then actually punt at D with all this great value. Do you have any interest in these like lower price lines for the Coyotes? Because I feel like the Soderberg line's been projecting a little pretty well, and the just like I don't know, I feel like these Arizona lines are all a little bit too cheap maybe, and they're great like filler stacks and chalkier lineups because they never get any ownership.
Right. Like I wish there was just some pecking order between the lines. Like you could argue that the Soderberg line is the second line for Arizona. They're listed as the fourth. Yeah. So maybe you take a shot on them. They were actually, I think they won Eddie the GPP the other night, or maybe it was the Dvorak, Schmaltz, Hayden trio. Yeah. So like you can kind
that's the thing, right? Like, and they're talented. Like Soderberg's talented, right. Garland's talented, Gross is pretty good. Like that's not a fourth line. Same with the Hinostroza, Richardson, Grabner line. Yeah. Like 23% 5-on-5 share. These are like they're getting third, sort of like middle 6 line ice time. They have talent. They don't get ownership. They're super cheap. They're not gonna win you slates very often. But when you pair them with that super expensive stack every once in a while, I've just noticed, like maybe it's my own personal bias, but I've just noticed that coming up a lot. It's like really low owned cheap line that has some offensive upside paired with a good stack wins all the money.
I don't hate the call. Like I said, it's hard for me to make a stand on any line that's not Arizona 1. Like they're the clear number 1 option. And then after that, it's just kind of like, okay, take your pick. Like in a single entry, you couldn't pay me to play one of these Arizona lines. But as an MME player, if you're running out a bunch of 3-3s, I think you should. I might include the Richardson line, but I think more likely I would be including Dvorak, Hayton, and Schmaltz, I guess, if I had to choose one, just because they get a little bit of power play time, but it's tough.
Yeah, totally fair. And if you're looking for like offensive zone starts, I think for the most part it's Nick Schmaltz that ends up as like their if other than the top line, it's Nick Schmaltz in the offensive zone. I'm just going to look up their defensive zone starts. Lawson Krause looks like that line, wherever he is, gets more of the defensive zone starts. So I don't know, just another level of analysis you probably don't need. Lawson Krause isn't even playing.
that guy is awful. Lawson Krause. All right. Kyle Connor has been really good this season as far as creating scoring chances. Someone mentioned him in the chat. That is a good call by Brad. Stepan one-off, not really the type of guy I would like to one-off. I'd either one-off Keller or Kessel, but that's just me.
Yeah, unless it's like cash. People love to one-off Stepan in cash.
Yeah, because he blocks shots. I mean, he plays good minutes. He plays on the power play. So I guess there is some like assist and block shot equity there. But in a tournament, I think you can find some better one-offs, honestly. All right, let's go to Philadelphia and Calgary. We've got Brian Elliott going up against David Rittich. Elliott 7,300, Rittich 8,100. Not starting Carter Hart tonight. Maybe it's a back-to-back situation for the Flyers. But 2.8 implied total for Philadelphia, about 3.2, a little bit more for Calgary. What do you think we see here? Do we see anything different, first of all?
Just on the Calgary side, there's some shuffling going on with their bottom lines. Tobias Ryder is I think he's up on the 4th line. No, wait, let me just double check this out. I think it's Jankowski,
Zarnik, and Bennett. That's what we're showing.
That's right. Yeah. So Jankowski, Zarnik, and Bennett. Ryder is out for Reader, and Milan Lucic up on the 3rd line with Mangiapane and Derek Ryan. So usual stuff here for the Flames. TJ Brody also back up on the top pairing with Giordano. Rasmus Anderson back down in the third pairing. So he's also another like super cheap defenseman if you need to go that route. That I think once he's up on the top pairing, his splits are a little bit pronounced. He's going to get some more ice time. But Philly side didn't notice anything. Just that Gostisbehere is kind of in the doghouse now. He's on the third pairing. He's getting the power play time, but his price is way down. But he's just like he's not the kind of focal point of this offense that he once was. So you're more likely to see. I noticed that stacking wise, it looks on the road, it looks like Provorov's getting more ice time with the Couturier line, and their other defensemen are just mixing in with the top line. So that Provorov's being used kind of as a shutdown, probably as much as possible.
Fair enough. So I think here we're probably going to see Backlund, Tkachuk, Frolik go up against probably the Hayes, Giroux, Voracek line for the most part.
Like, wouldn't you want to take out the Couturier line?
That's the thing. Yeah, Couturier line has been incredible so far.
Get your top line away from the Hayes line. So get your top line away from Couturier.
Yeah. So that's a good point. It's a tough read here because it's tough when the other team has a shutdown line that's not their top line. Couturier line has been incredible. Maybe they just go shutdown line versus shutdown line and try to cancel each other out. And honestly, that's probably what I do. I don't know. I still, for some reason, I think that they're going to go Backlund against the Hayes, Giroux, Voracek line. And I think whoever goes up against the Hayes, Giroux, Voracek line makes for a really good play. I just don't really know who it's going to be. So right now, what I have is I'm just kind of split in between the two. I have some of Calgary 1. I have some of Calgary 2. So kind of hedging what I'm doing here. On the other side, I don't really love much of anything on the Flyers, but I'm probably going to play some Philadelphia 1 in hopes that they do avoid the Backlund line entirely. So again, kind of hedging all the way around here because if we do see certain matchups, I think there is like some slate breaking potential from a bunch of different angles, but I don't really know what the actual read is going to be here. So
I just looked up their last matchup in Calgary, which was December 12th of last year. It looks like a mixed bag. There's like points at which they're able to get out. Couturier is not on them all the time, so they do try and get that top line away from him probably about 60% of the time. So there you go. But looks like there's just points where they're going to see some Couturier. So
fair. Yeah, so that kind of sucks. I really like hard matching for DFS because it's something people don't take enough advantage of, but it's tricky when you go ahead.
Just like guys like that, like Couturier and Bergeron, right. And like just elite shutdown centers.
For sure. So again, kind of on all sides, getting some Philadelphia 1. Probably going to take the heaviest stance on Calgary 1, and then I'm certainly not going to miss out on Calgary 2 in hopes that they get up against Philly's top line for a good amount of time. Giordano at 6,500, a little bit too expensive for me to play a ton of him here, but he is right now a top 5 owned defenseman for me. Like I said, there's a clear number 1, but then after that, Giordano's definitely in that next tier as far as guys I'm going to be exposed to with like the Webbers and the Morrisseys and Morgan Riley and all that. So he's fine, but he's just kind of another guy in that mix near the top for me. Not a guy I'm going crazy on. And then I'm playing some Gostisbehere. I wonder if I should bump him down at 4K because I think he's going to be a guy a lot of people get, and I don't even think it's that great of a matchup in Calgary here. Playing bottom pairing minutes, you're essentially just playing him for the power play, right?
Yeah, 3 shots on goal this year. That's pretty much it. That's the only advantage. So when you think of like a bottom pairing defenseman on the power play 1, like that's a fair price, but I'm not like super excited to play him by any stretch of the imagination. I'd rather try and find the extra 300 and get up to Morrissey, who's going to get more minutes, more ice time with the top unit, and power play 1 time.
Sandheim, 2,600, your boy. Maybe I'll include him instead of.
I don't know. Why not at that price, man? He was on a heater last year. One of the defensemen was out towards the end of last season. I can't remember if it was Provorov or Gostisbehere or what, and he was just like on fire day after day. He was like I don't know. He just had a really hot streak. He's talented. Like I think of him as more of like a 4K kind of defenseman. So.
Yeah, he usually is, even when he's not been playing in the power play. Like he was up priced at 3,800 and 4K at times last year before the hot streak. So I like the call as a punt defenseman. That's definitely a guy I think you should include. Like, I'd rather him over TJ Brody on the other side. Brody always gets owned because he plays on the second unit, but like the top unit is really what you want for Calgary anyways. So going to try to avoid Brody as much as possible, as I usually do. Wouldn't mind playing Rasmus Anderson if he was up playing with Giordano at 5-on-5, but that looks like it's not going to be the case tonight. Anything else here?
I think that's it.
All right, let's go to Detroit and Vancouver. We've got Jonathan Bernier going up against Thatcher Demko. What do we got for implied totals? 2.7 for Detroit, 3.3 for Vancouver. Looks like we're going to see some pretty popular Vancouver Canucks here. What do you think about that, your Canucks?
Yeah, I mean, that's the Arizona one and Vancouver one were the two lines that stood up to me as the most mispriced on the slate. I think for obvious reasons. I mean, I don't really get why they're that cheap. Like, Les Pettersson and Brock Besser should be in the mid sixes for this matchup. But here we are, $5,300. It's like, I don't know how to get away from them at that price. It's the price of a filler stack. It's $15,000 for that line. So sign me up for that line. I don't know. I don't really have any other thoughts on that. Maybe if you want to contrarian play Horvat, Ferland Pearson is good. Bottom line, Sutter is between Virtanen and Levo, and Mott draws into the lineup with Beagle and Schaller. Quinn Hughes getting a lot of ice time as well with that top line recently. Edler's more being used as a shutdown defenseman. The Edler-Myers pairing with Horvat, the Horvat line as well. And then Detroit side, Frans Nielsen might draw in. He skated today, but check line rushes as well if you're just dying to play Frans Nielsen.
Yeah, this Vancouver one is really annoying here because they're just way too cheap. They've been good. Like, they've wrecked the slate at least one time with the JT Miller big game.
Then they didn't do it. Like, I think I had 98% that won that night. They still didn't come through.
Yeah, dude. So, like, Brock is probably like the best cash game play on the night, or one of the best cash game plays on the night at 5,200.
And Pettersson, man.
And Pettersson.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2 combo there. Good chance if one of them scores, the other guy probably gets in on the assist, playing the whole game together. They're all top power play. They're probably going to avoid the only line worth anything on Detroit, really, as Horvat and Edler get that shutdown duty against Larkin, Bertuzzi, Mantha. So I really love Horvat as a one-off at 4,900.
Yeah,
I don't even mind the full Vancouver 2 stack. I don't think it's going to be owned. Maybe it works as a little bit of a leverage play. And I also like Detroit quite a bit here. I don't think Vancouver is that bad of a matchup. Power play, I think, is going to be in play here for Detroit 1. They all play on the same power play.
Are you worried at all, though, that Horvat's going to be used against the Detroit 1 line? I'm assuming that he'll go against them.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a little bit, but when you're this good at 5-on-5, like, unless it is Bergeron and Boston 1 going up against you, I'm usually willing to take a shot on a line like Detroit 1 that's been so good since basically right when they got put together. Like, they haven't skipped a beat. In the offseason, they're generating, like 62 shot attempts per 60, a bunch of scoring chances, a bunch of high danger chances going back to last season. So they're just, like, I just think they're going to be able to generate against pretty much anyone they go up against. And I don't think Horvat is quite the shutdown center. So maybe like Couturier might be in that tier, like the Bergeron tier, as far as like shutdown guys. At least their line so far has just been incredible.
I meant, like, I totally agree with you there. Are you like a little worried about playing Horvat, knowing that he's going to go up against these guys, and he's like, you might not see much of the puck?
A little bit. I think there might be some trading of chances going on. But like Horvat, he plays on the top power play. Like, he's the guy who puts shots on goal. He blocks shots, a lot of shots for a forward. And then his line mates are cheap. So that's the appeal with Horvat, and it's also a way to kind of get off of Vancouver 1 while also playing a team that has a good implied total, So, you prefer to get to Vancouver 1, but the ownership's going to be pretty hefty for what we usually see in NHL DFS. So maybe the Horvat line is a decent pivot. Athanasiou I like as a one-off as well. Just 4K, a guy with double dong upside, even though I don't really love his line mates much at all. Anything else here? Edler, 5,800?
Give a little. No, not for me tonight.
Fair enough.
I'm sure it's fine, but I'd just rather go elsewhere. Get cheaper. I mean, like, yeah, people love Edler, I guess. I don't know. He's not as high. Actually, 5,800 is not bad. I take it back. Sure.
He's okay. Yeah, it's like 5,800, not going to make me jump up and down, but like with Dumba there, with Weber in that tier, with Gio, I'm kind of spreading it around with all of these guys in the 5 to 6K tier.
One sneaky guy I kind of like.
Who's that?
Mike Green.
Mike Green? What do you like about him? 4,100?
He's fairly cheap. He's rating out really well all year in the Awesemo projections so far.
He's playing good minutes. I will say that.
And he's getting 10 to 12 minutes a game with Detroit 1.
Is he really?
One, but yeah, he's leading the team 11 minutes with Detroit 1 last game, 10 before the game before that. So just a sneaky play at like no ownership if you need a pivot. I think he's fine.
I mean, if he's going to be tied to Detroit 1, that is a pretty smart play, even if he's not very good anymore. Like, he's getting blocks. He's putting some shots on goal. He's playing 21-plus minutes every night so far this season. So that might not be too bad of a call for 4,100 there.
That's the best I could hope for.
All right, let's move it on to Nashville and Vegas. Last game of the night. Pekka Rinne expected to go for Nashville. Marc-Andre Fleury expected to go for Vegas. We've got a 3.1 implied total for Nashville, 3.4 for Vegas. What do you like here? And do we see anything different?
At just the bottom, looks like Rocco Grimaldi is in on Nashville forward Turris and Smith. Nothing on the Vegas side. I think same lineup as before. Austin Carr, I think, is out for Nashville. Dan Hamhuis back in the lineup as well with Yannick Weber. So that's it. I don't know what to do with this game, man. It's like it's probably not that. What are the totals at here?
3.4 for Vegas, 3.1 for Nashville.
Damn, that's pretty high for Vegas. So I'm assuming Vegas 2. You're a fan of Vegas 2, maybe?
I mean, I love Vegas 2, but I like Vegas 1 better here. It's not really a matchup thing. It's just that Vegas 2 has had a lot of the success. So I figured they would be higher owned, but let's see where we're at.
Well, I just noticed like Marcia Show's shooting percentage is way down.
Yeah, he's
right now. So
yeah, I think he's due for a breakout. The ownership is similar.
1 goal on 20 shots. So I would assume there's some regression coming there eventually. But
yeah, the ownership's similar between the two lines. Vegas 1 is a little bit higher owned. Jake forgetting about his boy Aho is shocking. Oh, we do have one more game after this. My bad. I wouldn't forget about Aho. I was like, man, did I just forget about Carolina entirely? But that's the last game. So this one, Vegas 1, is my main target. Just another line that's too cheap. They're a little bit lower owned than like a Vancouver or Toronto. So I like the appeal there. I don't know. They've just been generating so many quality chances at 5-on-5 and not really getting rewarded that I think it has to even out at some point because we have a history of them being a really awesome line at 5-on-5 and Vegas 2 as well. But when the ownership's close, I just go with the line that's better value. And to me, that's Vegas 1 tonight. So that's what we'll be playing more of.
I'm guessing they're not going to get much ownership here. Hopefully not, but I'm going to say it's under 10%.
It's about 8% for Vegas 1, about 6% for Vegas 2.
Damn. All right, that's pretty good. Like on a slate like this, I feel like that's where you're gonna. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong slate here. Yeah, on a slate like this, I feel like that's pretty smart play to get off some of this other chalk. So, yeah, don't hate the call. Vegas 2 looks like under 6% ownership too. So I guess just the perception that Nashville is a really tough defensive opponent, which they can be, but 3.5 implied total. That's kind of one of those things where perception and reality, you might want to just go with the Vegas total.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the total this high for Nashville, honestly. And it's a little bit worrisome that they don't have, like they're not getting a lot of ownership. and I'm not getting any of them because I think I'm really impressed with Nashville too, and they're actually pretty cheap. So you look at like Granlund, he's under 5%, Duchesne also under 5, and then Forsberg also under 5. So you're getting a team with a 3 implied total, a line that's played incredibly well, and had some good results too. It's not like they're like Vegas won where they just haven't quite had the big bust out game. I think that certainly could come for Nashville too. So that might be a line that after the show I try to force in my portfolio of lineups, because I don't really love much on the defensive front for Nashville here. Yossi at 6,300 is tough for me to get to. Theodore, always got to mention him at 5,500. One of my favorite guys in that 5 to 6K range again.
I just ran a crunch with one unique, and it's like 90% Pedersen, 90% step in line. So
yeah, that'll happen for sure.
Just switching up the defense. Yeah. So I'm with you there on Yossi. Like it's fine. Theodore's fine. But I don't really have any strong takes. So I'm gonna follow your advice here and go Vegas 1 tonight. I like it.
All right, let's do it. Carolina, LA. Peter Mrazek, Jack Campbell expected to go. No Quick for the Los Angeles Kings. 3.6 implied total for Carolina. Looks like about 2.8, 2.9 for the Kings. Man, Carolina is way too cheap. I mean, they have 3 lines that I think are pretty much in play against the Kings. The Kings haven't been too bad defensively. Actually, they've impressed me a little bit, but this could be a game there they just get hammered in shots on goal. So I will say Campbell makes for an okay option at 7,300 if you're not playing a ton of Hurricanes. I'm going to have Campbell one-offs for sure. But outside of that, it's going to be a lot of Carolina 1 for me. They're my favorite line. They almost always are my favorite line. But I'm also going to have lines 2 and 3 as full stacks as well. I think there's a lot of good matchups to be had here for Carolina side.
Nice. Well, you're going to get them at pretty decent ownership, I think, as well. I'm not as high on them as you, but like it's a pretty good spot, pretty good value. It's Carolina 2 got a ton of ice time last game. That's the only thing I really noticed. And Pesce and Edmondson get a lot of ice time with Carolina 2, and then it's kind of spread out between Hamilton and Slavin after that, just in case you were looking for a defense stack. So Carolina 2, I don't know why they got I didn't have a chance to look into why they were so highly used last game out, but
probably a shutdown game, right?
Who are they playing?
Let's see. They played. Did they play on Sunday? I can't even remember.
Columbus.
When did they
so
play?
It's not like I think it's just like you only got 18 minutes. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder about these stats, like what 30% of 5-on-5. I guess they just weren't killing penalties and weren't on the power play at all. But it's not that great, really. Normally we see Aho and that other top line getting far and away the most ice time, but their ice time was down a little bit last game, so not probably much ado about nothing really.
Right.
Shouldn't it? So but you're the Carolina Whisperer, man. I'll stick with your Carolina hot takes. You know, one of the best scoring chance and high danger chance generation lines in the NHL, if not the best. So matchup against LA, I do like that Campbell call a lot. I think he's going to be a low-owned option. It's going to see a ton of shots. Carolina always finishes in the top 3 of shots forward in the NHL. This year is no different. Campbell's cheap. You get that 35 save bonus. LA is doing a good job at shot suppression right now. They're top 3 in the NHL, but I'd imagine that Carolina will be able to get 30-plus shots on him anyway. So,
yep,
fire that up as contrarian play.
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, if I was making one lineup for tonight, I would not be getting on Jack Campbell. He's an MME guy for sure. I mean, I guess you could end up on him for 7,300. It's like I guess it is a winnable game for the Kings, but I wouldn't end up on him in single entry tonight. I'd be much more likely to end up on Carolina 1 if I just could make one lineup. So just want to be clear about that. Don't go overboard on Campbell because I think it is a pretty tough spot. But if the Kings can kind of hold things up and at least limit Carolina to low quality shots or outside scoring chances, stuff like that, you might be looking at a pretty good game for a $7,300 goalie. So that's all. on the Kings side, I'm probably just looking at the second line, honestly. They're just cheap. Toffoli's played well. He's bumped up to the second line again. Who knows when he'll get bumped down or when he'll start playing 10 minutes a game again. But I'm probably going to take
this Blake Lizotte kid?
I don't know a ton about him, but he's 3K, and he's centering Carter and Toffoli. He's playing okay minutes when he's been playing the third line. I don't know. I'm taking a chance on some LA2 tonight, which is terrifying.
Wow, it's bold. You sound like me tonight.
Yeah, it's not comfortable, but when you got 150, right, you can just throw some money away. So that's what I'll be doing with my LA2 shares.
Actually, I like that call. That's a good call at that price.
What about Dougie? 67.
Yeah, getting up there in price. I feel like he's priced. He's getting about 25 minutes a game. He's shooting a lot. I got no problem with it. I just think that it's just hard not to take the savings for some of these guys who are almost as good plays for 2K less. So, what's his ownership at though?
For Dougie, I bet it's pretty low. Let me check on him.
People aren't used to paying that for him.
Ooh, man, he's closer to 10%. I don't know if I understand that, but
Dumba 13% for 2K less.
Right.
Rather go there. Rather go to Morrissey at 7%, 2K less. I know that we're going to have them projected for less points. It's Dougie Hamilton. He's great. So if you got the cap, or if you got the salary cap for it, go for it. But not fighting to get there. It's not like one of those Burns lock spots where you're forcing him into your lineups or trying to get as much as possible. For me, he's not on that level.
Right. So I try not to force as much as possible and just try to have good lineups all around. And I would be forcing Dougie in if I had a bunch of him tonight. So I'm a little worried. I'm going to have some shares of him, but I don't even think I'm going to get to the 10% that he's getting to right now on DraftKings. So a bit worrisome because I think it is a good spot. He's not quite in the Burns territory for me just yet. I don't even know. Is he going to play 25 minutes most nights? Probably not. 6,700. He's not even playing on the top unit for Carolina. So it's tough. But I'm probably going to be lower on Dougie if he continues to be priced like this until he shows me that I shouldn't be lower on him. So we'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Certainly not getting off the Dougie train, but I think for 6,700 tonight, there's just other guys that I'm more willing to play.
Fair. Looks like the rankings have a lot of these high-priced defensemen in. Just if you're crunching without many limitations and stacking, they just love the Van 1, Arizona 1 so much that it seems like.
Yeah,
and Montreal 1 as well.
It's understandable. So just be aware if you're playing two chalk lines together, maybe get different with your D, or just get a different lineup construction. Run the 3-2-1 or 2-2, or do something different if you're playing Toronto 2, Toronto 1, and I don't even know who else is popular. Vancouver, Arizona, those are kind of the big four that are getting double-digit ownership. Calgary 1, I guess you could throw in there. Just be aware of what you're doing. Get some unique lineups, and that's really all I got. Besides, shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports for sponsoring the Osmo.com NHL Strategy Show. Get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. And the way you can do that is by going to Emacs Primetime Articles, checking the second or third paragraph, and clicking the link there. And you can find out how to essentially get $30 of free money on your first deposit using our promo code. What else you got, Nolan?
I got nothing.
All right.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Slim Cliff, you going to come on the show one of these days?
Yeah, we've had an interesting schedule so far. He's supposed to be on Mondays, but we'll get him on for sure. Awesome. Next Monday, I think, for sure, and whenever else he wants to come back on. All right. That will do it. Check out the rankings and projections and ownership that we now have. Cheat sheets and power plays are both out. Those are both free articles. Let me post those articles in chat. There are the cheat sheets, and here are the power plays written by Slim Cliffy himself today. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Feel free to give us a like on your way out. It helps us continue to do this kind of content for free. You guys have been really showing up to these, so it's good to see early in the season. Hopefully we can turn a few of you guys into avid NHL DFS players. And
when NBA comes back, just stick with us.
Yeah, I know. I always talk myself into that people will stick around once NBA starts, and I'm always disappointed. So setting low expectations, but hopefully people continue to come support us. So thank you guys, and good luck tonight.